Cool. So as mentioned, I've just started the recording now. So if you want that stopped, let me know. Otherwise, it will just run and then we'll be able to upload this to YouTube at the end. So anyone that hasn't turned up tonight, you could send them a link if you like.
Yep.
So just give it one more minute and then we'll get started. Oh, there's somebody else. Leah.
There she is.
Just in the nick of time. Hey, Leah.
Hi, how you going?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm
good.
just trying to find where everything is. Sorry, I just had trouble connecting on my computer, so I'm on my iPad.
Okay, no worries. If you like, you can turn the camera off to save on bandwidth and battery. There should be a little camera symbol up the top of your screen there.
Even though we love looking at you, Leah.
Thanks.
It's Kylie, by the way.
Oh, hi, Kylie. All right, I'm just going to see what I do. Got it.
That's it. Cool. And then if you've got earphones too, Leah, that can be handy to put those in just to contain any background noise and so on. So you're doing this on an iPad,
I'll go on mute for now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good one. All right, well, we'll get started. And Bernadette, if your other person comes along, or is this Leah, is she part of your team?
No, my person was going to be Miriam, but I'm not sure. She didn't fully commit. She just said she might.
Okay, no worries. So we'll get started, and if Miriam wants to join in, well then, cool. Otherwise, we'll get started. Yep. So guys, if you like...
I don't mind.
Okay, no worries. So if you like, just put your microphones on mute. Just stops any background noise interrupting in the meantime. But obviously, if you do want to have any questions answered, or you've got any thoughts or ideas, then unmute and jump on in. And just a reminder, so we've got this recorded, so if anyone misses out in your group tonight that wants to know what happened, then we'll be posting this to YouTube later on, where all the other ones are too. And so it can just be a resource for anyone else at your center. So welcome. Thanks for coming. My name's Nick, and tonight we're just going to run through all the ResultsHQ, RaceHQ and CompetitionHQ elements, which are all part of the software package that is provided by your state to be able to use this system without us having to invoice you guys. So it's all included. There's no extra bits or costs, only if you wanted to use any timing hardware or our website. But otherwise, everything you're looking at tonight is all included and free. So use at your own will. So this is what the picture looks like in New South Wales. You've got all your registrations are happening in Sports TG, and most of you, I'm sure that's already kicked off already. Is that right? You already got your registrations happening?
Yes, ours has just opened up. Cool.
So new families, returning families, they'll be going on there and registering. To get those families into ResultsHQ, basically it's just a press of a button in ResultsHQ to bring those families over, providing that they're active and they're financial. So if they're a returning family, by default, they'll be called online. But if they're a new family, returning family, and you've already made them active, then they'll be called active. So as long as they're active and financial, then those members will come across the ResultsHQ when you click a button in the IMG area. And we'll show you what that looks like later on. Once they're in ResultsHQ, then the rest of the season basically is all about bringing in your latest members, setting up your meet date, printing your recording sheets, entering your results, running your calculations, and then just repeating that throughout the season, which should be the same process as what you've used in your prior platforms. Just the way it looks and how you go about doing it will be a bit different. But that's the general flow for the season. Bring your members in, add a date to your calendar, print your recording sheets, enter results, run your points calcs, and just repeat. But this is a web platform. ResultsHQ is a web platform, which means to get to it, you just need a browser and some internet, and you'll be able to use it. Do you guys have good internet at your clubs, or you don't have internet there, or looking to get something soon? What's the scenario at your centres?
I'm not sure what we use, but I was just thinking, I think they do have some dongle thing. Otherwise, I'd just use my hotspot.
Yep, cool. So
And data usage.
your data usage is minimal. So if you do use your hotspot, then you shouldn't have any issues with.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone else want to chime in on their internet or access at their location?
Yeah, we use a dongle as well.
Okay. So on that point, if you've got internet, cool. Well, then you can key straight into ResultsHQ. But not everybody has good internet, or even some centres that do have really good internet still prefer to use these other two applications down below. So these do not require internet to operate. So you can record everything without needing internet. And then when you're ready, go and upload the data back to ResultsHQ. The moment you do that, then the families get to see it in their family area, either on their phone or tablet or whatever it is they like to look at their results on. So that's the general process. So these two applications we'll also have a quick look at tonight. Who here is running with some sort of timing apparatus at their centre, like timing gates, whether they're our gates or somebody else's gates?
No.
Ours, I don't think it's, I'm not sure, they're quite old, our timing gates.
So they're like a metal frame with cables get wrapped around it?
Around the top of them, yeah.
Yep, okay, so that sounds like the ATP system. So this one bit of software will let you hook up your ATP, so your timing gates, to this software to save you keying all those lane, time, places from paper back into your system. Otherwise, if you use a Seiko multi-timer, do you guys use anything like that? Or are you just using stopwatches at the finish line?
We're old school stopwatches.
Okay, so one stopwatch per place or per lane, something like that?
No, not always. We've got some results all the time, so they'll do multiple places each.
Okay, cool. So we'll run through what this software can do and just how it's designed to hopefully save you some time, because traditionally you'd print off a recording sheet. Even if you're using the timing gates, you'll then get a recording of the lanes and places and so on that have come out. Then somebody goes and writes the athlete's number and or name against those times. They get stapled to the recording sheet, and then somebody then has the fun task of keying that back into the system. Does that sound familiar?
We do it that way for our special championships days, but week to week, just the normal competitions, just the team manager takes down the results from the timekeepers.
Yep, and then somebody has to key that into the system?
The team manager does it, yeah.
Yep, so they take that home, or when do they go about doing that?
They usually take the sheets home and do it themselves. So we were hoping to get all the app.
Yep, cool. So I'll run through the timing software first, and then we can have a look at CompetitionHQ as well, which is what you would use. Even if you've got good internet, you may prefer to use it to enter all your field events into, but we can have a look at those two first, and then we'll jump into ResultsHQ.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like a plan?
Yep.
All right, so enough slides. How about we jump in and we'll start to have a look at these things in the flesh. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to fire up the latest RaceHQ that I've got on my desktop. So to get this application, you don't have to install anything. There's no keys or permissions or any of that sort of stuff. As long as you download it from the support area and you've got a Windows laptop, then you're good to go. So this screen that we've opened up into is for pack racing. If I had a set of wireless timing gates, we'd go to sprint, but pack is the normal to replace your stopwatch. If you're using your ATP, so your timing gates, the metal ones, then you just choose whether
Yep.
you're using the 201 or the 301. It just
Oh, yeah.
depends on what your system is.
Yep.
But just staying on pack mode without having any extra peripherals, just my laptop in this application, I'm just going to press Go Race. This opens up my screen. From here, when I see the smoke, I press the control key on my keyboard. That's just started the clock up the top here. When athletes finish, I just hit the shift key. Now finishing athletes. The clock's still going. I haven't even selected an event yet. And I'm just going to start keying in some numbers. If it finds a person, then I'll bring them in. That's what I've done. Hooked up to a school profile. I'm just going to change this back to my demo profile. So this is where you'd connect this application to your ResultsHQ area. So just let it finish, bring down that. I'm just going to change this to so I'm just connecting now. Instead of from another profile, I'm just hooking back up to our demo profile. So it's brought down 716 members, PBs, records, and a few events there. So I'm just keying in numbers, and the best fit number that matches is coming up, and it's showing me their age and their gender, and if they've got a club. I haven't even selected an event yet. There's a few more people that just finished. I can start typing in a name. And so on. The moment I select an event, it will start to flag if there's any records. So these are all potential records, obviously a very fast 800-meter race. And there's a PB in this case. So her prior PB was 1 minute 44.81 versus now she's done a 9:25. Then I'd stop the race when I'm happy to stop it.
Interesting.
And then if there's still somebody else that I hadn't keyed in, I can go and put them in now. So I'll look for see if there's a Billy. Yep. And there we go. So there's my 9 people that just ran in a race. In this case, it was an 800-meter race. When I press save, it's then going to upload the results to my, sorry, I'll just turn my phone off. When I press save, if I'm connected to the internet and I've got this option turned on in here, automatically upload races when saving. If these age gender events are in ResultsHQ for today and I press save, it will then try and upload those straight away, providing I've got internet. Once it's done that, basically those kids will be able to see their results in their profile, and then they're good to go from there. Then if we wanted to, we could then go and start another race and process that one through.
So does that...
Yep.
Sorry, does that mean that need to do all that in between each race? So if you wanted to get 300s really quickly,
yep.
Would it all at the same time that they were racing?
So the option with your hundreds, so I think because I switched profiles, it's kind of hung for some reason here. If you want to punch through hundreds really quick, then what some centres do, they've got 2 laptops on rotation. And I look after the first race, then I walk off the track with them. Somebody looks after the second race, and we just keep leapfrogging each other.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Or go back to the old-fashioned way of recording on paper.
If you like, you could do that too.
I'm just wondering about time.
Yeah, well, it's normally pretty quick. Just for some reason, my app's hanging here, so I'm just going to kill it. I think because I switched profiles, it all got a bit muddled. So I just killed it. I'll fire it back up again. So that's how so it's obviously easier if you're running 2 laptops, or if you've got timing gates hooked up, then all that sort of stuff will be there and quicker to key in instead of me hitting the numbers. You can run overlapping races too, so that while I've got one race on, I could also start the second race. So there's another clock up the top here. I can process these guys now. And meanwhile, then I start my next race. I stop this one, I'm finished with it. And then choose my distance, press save. And then that next one will come through. I'm not sure what's going on with this. It's not happy tonight for some reason.
So this can only be done off a laptop?
Off Windows, yes.
Oh.
Ah, right. It's trying to create events. That's why it's taken so long. I should turn that off. So it was trying to build out events for me while I was doing it. So that always takes longer compared to if I had just my set age, gender events, then I wouldn't need to worry about that.
And does it use the athlete's bib number?
Correct.
Rather
so
than name?
The number on their chest is the one that then is what I key in, or if they don't have the number on the chest, then I just press key in their name. And then from there, that's how quick it normally should be, not the hang up that I just had before.
Yep.
So that's just an idea. So you don't have to use it. As mentioned, these are just ideas in case you weren't aware. So now you are aware. And whether you want to use this just for your distance races, and then it's too slow in theory maybe for your hundreds, then keep going and using what you're using for your hundreds. But as far as your pack races, maybe you can see a benefit. Or if you've got your timing gates, then hook them up, and then they'll save all the triggering. And with the timing gates, you can also key in who's in what lane down at the start line. So the names appear on the screen, and now we're just waiting for the kids to finish against their lane and their name. So that makes it much quicker as well.
Okay, and so if you use your timing gates, do we still have to press start on this, or is it just automatically done through the timing gates?
Yeah, so if you're using your metal structured gates, you would just do your normal process there, and when you do your print enter, that's normally the last step. That's when it would normally print. So there's a bit of noise in the background there. When it prints, it actually, that's all right. When it prints, it actually displays up on the screen here with exactly what would be on that print off. So it would have the kid's name, their lane, time and place. So then we don't start anything. We're just kind of a soft copy of the printout, if that makes sense. So it'll look more like I'll just do a quick race here. There's 8 lanes. I'll stop that. Yes. And I'll save that. If I go to saved events, it would look more like this. It would come up on the screen. Sorry, wait a minute. There it is. Come up on the screen looking more like this. I've got blank lanes and the places, and I just need a key in their names now. So that's what it'd look more like on that scenario. And then they save the next race, and you would have a little icon down here saying new race available, and then you would just rotate onto it, and then they'd save the next race, and it would say new race available, and rotate onto that one, if that makes sense. So it would just let you key in their name.
Yep.
Process them that way, then upload. Or you've got 100 races from the night without trying to upload anything. Then at the end of the night, you just go and hit the upload all, and you go and push up all the 100 races that you've just ran. So that's RaceHQ. Any more questions around what that is and how that works? No? Okay.
No.
All right, so I'll jump into CompetitionHQ. So this is what you can use even if you've got good internet. Some people prefer to use this one still, just because what sort of numbers are your centers running with, athlete numbers?
We're around between 180 to 200.
Okay. Do you run many combined age gender groups?
We do for the older kids.
Yep, the younger
Combined
ones.
so that
Yep.
Younger ones have the bigger numbers, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so...
That's Jason here at Madawi. We've got about 170.
Hi, Jason, you got your mic? Cool, no worries. So...
I've gone to a different machine.
Okay, good man. So with this application, it will let you mash together age and genders and bring them onto the screen. So now they're all mashed together, versus if you're in the web area, it won't let you combine age and genders when you want to key data. You have to go to an individual age and gender to key a lot of results and then move on to the next age and gender. So that's why some clubs prefer this app, because it'll let them do that and do it quickly, versus a web. You have to obviously wait for a web page to load before you can go and do things. Then you have to wait for it to save before you can go on to the next one. So it's just those inbuilt challenges with a website, versus this application is living on my laptop, so it doesn't need internet to run. The moment I move from this cell
11 seconds
to the next one, I've got the voice turned on, so I'll turn off Mr. Robot Voice. So going to General, Read Entered Results Allowed, I'll turn that off. So this is why some people prefer this application, if that makes sense. So we'll let me...
Will that work the same for phones and iPads?
So on the phone and the iPad, yes, you can mash together age and genders if you're using the CompetitionHQ app. It's a different looking screen, obviously, because it's built more for a tablet or a phone size, versus this is designed before that application was about. But that's the same sort of functionality. You can select multiple age and genders for this, as long as it's the same event type that you're only trying to key into one event, then I'll let you do that. And I'll also let you key in the 3 best ofs. And then as you do so, if I choose, so I do 11, 5, 6, tab, and I go across, and then I do a 12, 34, it's already choosing 12, 34 as the best for this athlete. If I came down here and put in a 12, 45, then now they're now first place, and this is now second place. And it's saying they're both potential records. The previous record or current record is 10.83, but I'm put these in, and so it's flagged them for me, saying, well, these are potential records. And it's also telling me the cloud with a red line through it means I haven't uploaded it as yet.
In regards to records, so it's got the potential records there. So that won't go through and update records, will it?
No, only if I clicked on it and then I validated that it was a potential record, that'll do that.
Okay. Because we don't want team managers to be able to do that each week. It's only on our competition, major competition events they can do it.
That's right, yep. So it's just highlighting.
And then we're having a committee member be the one to approve it.
That's right. So that's all available within. And so I've just sorted it by place, and now it's put first and second together. Let's say this athlete, Katie, didn't actually do well. I can just put a dash in there. Or an N, sorry, if I put an N in there, then it creates it as a no throw. And it changes her status to a no throw, as well as the dash that I put in up there. And then if they go and get a result, they're off their no throw status and they're now third. So it lets you do those things. So if we uploaded these, if these were actually age gender events available tonight, and I press upload like I'm just doing now, it's saying I can't upload these because they aren't actually created available for us for tonight, being the 9th of August. There are no 13 and 14 female shot put events available to upload against. So it stops people from just pushing up junk that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But it does mean if you wanted to push up something because you've just changed it on the fly, then someone would need to go to ResultsHQ and add that as a potential or as an event for tonight, and then let me upload it once we've done that.
Nick, if someone accidentally accepts a club record, can we go back and amend it?
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And obviously same goes for weekly results. If they've miskeyed
That's
a
it.
couple of kids around, we can go back.
Can
Yeah,
edit it. And if you're keying off a paper, you may not want to load up the age and genders. You've just, like, classic is if you're keying in from 100 meters, you've just got a bit of paper and it just has an athlete number against it. And then it's got a time. And then there's another number and another time and so on. So you can just do it like that as well.
How do we get the extended view for competition days where we go into a final scenario?
Okay, so if you're running heats to finals, then up here you've got your buttons to then go into finals, if that's the next layer of events, if you go into that level. So just by clicking on final, it's now, whatever I key into here is what we're keying into that next event, instead of it being a heat, being the final.
And that'll
So we still need, oh, sorry.
Yep.
That'll extend, say if it's like a row, it'll give them a further 3 attempts.
Oh, for that sort of scenario. Let me have a look. I think we had something in there.
And the other thing too, will it give us the final listing for a race or for the further 3 to 6 jumps,
Yeah, so
either in track or field events?
So that's not done down here. So this is purely just your paper, your soft copy. So all that happens up in ResultsHQ, where you then progress your heats to finals and all that sort of stuff. This is just purely, I don't want to key in from paper. Sorry, I want to key in from paper, but I don't want to key into the web. So I'll use this. Or I don't want to key into paper at all, and we don't have iPads or Android tablets or smartphones at our center. We've got laptops and we want to use this instead. And this is what this application is for. Otherwise, use the tablets or phones instead of this to just not need paper and to key it in that way. But once it's keyed in and uploaded, then all your progressions, heats to finals and so on happens in ResultsHQ. You'd then refresh those apps once your finals are being created with whoever's in those finals. And then you'd go about doing that next round of events. Make sense?
I think so.
So these apps are all available to have a play with and download and use. So you, by all means, jump in and do that. We've got a demo center, which is where I'll jump into now. So up in the webland. So to jump in here, if you want to have a play around, the password and the username is demo, capital D, little e, little m, little o. Same goes for the password, is the same as that. So capital D, little e, little m, little o, and be able to jump in.
So, excuse me, Nick, so where do we download this for real then?
Yep, so if you go to any of these green question marks, or this blue support tab down the bottom. So I'm just going to key in CompetitionHQ. It's then going to talk about it. I can view more. And there's more subjects there. Otherwise, I can go here. So CompetitionHQ download, first time use and setup instructions. So I could just download this app right now. And then it's going to go about downloading that for me over here on the side of my screen. Otherwise, I can just jump into the forum itself, which is at support.timingsolutions.com.au. And in here is the hub for all the different topics that little support kind of bubble down the bottom is tapping into. So this is all to do with CompetitionHQ. In here, it's talking about the app, so the mobile phone version, and then also this is to do with the Windows. Here's some different help topics on how to enter results and those sorts of things. Otherwise, to come back out, if you wanted to do anything to do with timing software, you come into RaceHQ. This is where you download the latest version. This is where you connect up your ATP, your timing gates, at least how to do that. And so on. There's a whole bunch of other subjects in there. Otherwise, anything to do with ResultsHQ is in here. And before we'll talk...
If there are more than one thing, do we need to download quite a few different things, or is there one thing that you just download that gives you everything?
So the RaceHQ, that will let you do everything to do with timing. CompetitionHQ will let you do everything to do with just recording data.
Okay, yep.
Earlier we talked about doing an IMG sync and making sure they're active and financial. So this is this help topic here, trying to talk to you about that. So if I jump in here, I actually did up a little video which shows you what it should look like in your profile and how you go about doing it, making sure that they're active instead of financial. And then as far as the...
Could I just ask a question on that?
Yep.
On the import?
Yep.
Like while we've been sitting here, I've just done an import from IMG and we've only got 20 odd regos so far.
Yep.
It's pulled across their rego numbers. So when they've given new numbers, because they're all getting 5-digit numbers or whatever it is this season, when I do a fresh import, will that overwrite those sort of things in ResultsHQ?
So sorry, which center are you in?
Madawi.
Madawi. So you're seeing numbers or no numbers there?
No, I've got there in the ID column, so I'm getting last year's rego ID.
Okay.
Which probably just are still in the system in IMG.
Yep.
But they'll need to be updated for the new season.
Yeah, so if you want to update those member numbers, so I've just jumped into your profile, you'd want to come down to registration and numbering. Once we're in here, so I can see those numbers that you're describing. Would then want to go show advance and reset member numbers. So we're basically going to zero everyone's numbers out. So I'm just doing that right now. So everyone's got a 0 for their number.
Yep, got it.
Otherwise,
beautiful.
If there's a number in there, it won't want to override it. If there's a 0, then it'll happily override it with whatever number you pull across.
Excellent. Question answered. Thank you.
Good one. And on that point, can we just show the steps using your profile? Is that okay on how to do an IMG sync or a sports TG import? So come up here to members, IMG import. Here's all the various fields that you may want to be able to do, but they just leave them. There's no need to change those. And then you just put your email in. Once you put your email in, it just make sure everyone's up to date before you go ahead. Yes, they are. And now it's going to go through in the background and bring across the members. Then I'll get an email shortly which says this process is complete, and then that means it's finished doing the IMG import. I've got my latest active and financial members, and then we're all good to go and do up our recording sheets and so on from there.
Is that for any email?
Yep, whatever email you put in there, just like I have, I'll then get an email back saying, here I go, just brought in 18 members. So if you want to know when it's finished, then put whatever email is you have access to get notified that it's finished.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Just thinking, so because if there's multiple people doing these imports rather than just the registrar.
Yep.
So say if I did, for example, being admin,
yep.
I'd then have to send that on to the registrar because that info obviously will then be null and void from then on, right?
No, you could do 5 imports in one night if you needed to. So you do one, somebody else does one, you don't. So it's just letting you know that it's completed its task. It's up to you who else needs to know about that task being done, but at least you know that it's finished. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll jump back into demo land. And in here, we'll go through the next step. So the first step is normally doing an IMG import. So click on that members button, put your email in, press submit, press OK, and then wait for the email to come in. Once that's done, any active and financial members will now be in your profile. And this is what your home screen looks like. So here's an age gender breakdown. So these are all the females being the red, the boys being the blue, the head count. So there's 43 under 9 females and there's 43 under 9 males and so on. If I want to click on that, I'll be able to see who they are. If I click on their first name, I'll see if they've got any results. If I click on their last name, I get to go to their family area, which is all the information that's come across from IMG. Below that graph, or if I want to search for a particular athlete, I can just put part of the name in, and it'll bring up all the matching Tims. Click on their first name, go and see results, click on their last name and see the details. I'll click on update and I get to go to their actual athlete information. So back on the home page, so that's anything to do with athletes and tracking them down. Here are all the dates that I can potentially enter results against. Now this is our sandpit, our demo center, so everyone can come in here and make a mess, hence there's 100 odd dates here for the season. It also tells me how many potential athletes I can have on any given night, so 739 in this center. So this column down here in the middle is saying 9 of 739, so it's saying 9 athletes have one or many results out of my 739. So as I scroll down this screen, as those dark blues on the left get bigger, that's when I can see that there's been more results on those nights just at a glimpse versus other nights. So it's just a bit of a visual cue to see what your attendance has been like week on week. If I want to see who those athletes are, then I can click in there and have a look. This is our PB column. So this is the number of PBs against any given week. This is our center record column, the number of center records that have been approved on any given week. And then our points, how many points are being calculated for these weeks. So at a high level, you get a bit of a snapshot to see that all your PBs are looking pretty familiar, normal sort of numbers. There's nothing crazy happening in your records, and that your points are being calculated as in they're not sitting at 0. There's some other number that looks familiar. Then you can kind of feel good that everything's where it should be at this point in time. If I want to go and key in some results, actually we'll skip that. We'll come back to that. So the process is bring your members in. Now we want to go and set up a new date in our calendar because we want to get ready for next Friday night or next Saturday. So I'll click calendar. These are all those same dates we saw on the home screen before from prior weeks. And we go and click the plus button, the add new. Go and give it a name, program name, and give it a date. So I'll make it this Saturday morning. Now I've got options here. I can use these sticky buttons and build out these particular event combinations. I'm just choosing random things. So right now, if I press add events, it's going to build out male and female, under 6 and under 7 and under 11, high jump 600, AUD 100 and 100 meters. So I'll press that. So it's going to look at all the members in my member list for those particular age genders and go and build out a results pigeonhole for those event combinations for me. So depending on the number of athletes you have in your center and how many events you've chosen, that can take a bit longer. But right now I've got my 6, 7 and 11s, male and female with their relevant events. If I wanted to put in 8 and 9, just female, they're doing something totally different. And then go add. It will then build those ones out and so on. But obviously that can be a bit painful the first time you do it, layering up all your events. But once you've built it, the cool part is even if you wanted to use last year, I can copy an existing meet. So once I've built it once or we've uploaded your results for you, you'll be able to find them in here and grab any of these prior dates, make them a favorite if you want, have a preview, see what it looks like. Nothing in that one. See what this one looks like.
So when we give it a name, like what we do is have a week 1 and a week 2 program, so that we just call it week 1 and week 2 and then just copy.
That's it. So you've built it once, or if it's the same as last year and we've uploaded your results from last year, then basically you can copy whatever was week 1 last year and reuse it this year and then keep recycling that. So now I'm happy with that combo. I'm just going to do copy date. It's going to go and build out whatever was happening on that 19th of Jan. And it's gone and added that in for me. Alternatively, if I'm happy now with this program, it's the first time I've used it, it's this brand new combination I've come up with, I'm a genius, how good is it? Then I may want to save this as a template. Next best. And submit. Now, if I ever want to use next best down the track, because sometimes, as you know, week on week, you may do a variation because of wet weather or some other reason you had to add or remove an event, but you can't remember that all the time, or somebody else has jumped in and they're copying prior dates. Versus if I use a template, you can't edit those as easily on this screen. You have to go to another area. So a template's more like a rubber stamp that you create that guarantees you'll have that combination that you're looking for that you set up way back. So I could come in here and I could grab next best again and reuse that in 2 weeks' time or whatever I want to do. Alternatively, you've been to somebody else's center and they've got this kick-ass program that you thought, that's so cool, we got to use that combo. You could ask them to export it down here, export to CSV. They could email it to you. Then you could jump in, use the import function, find that file that they emailed you, bring it in, and you're now using their template. So there's a few variations on how to set up your meet for your given week, and then how to reuse that easily week on week if you need to. That all makes sense?
Okay, cool. So for Colleton St Clair, we'll just wait to see if you can do what I've sent you, if you can use that before we start doing anything.
That's right. Assuming we can get it
Okay.
in, then hopefully it's the same as what you're doing this year, and you can just recycle that. Otherwise, you'd have to use the create new and just layer up your week 1 and then do your same for week 2 and then just reuse those.
Okay.
So now that we've gone and built out our program, the next step normally is, so just to recap, members are brought in, build out your program. Now you want to print recording sheets is normally the next step, unless you're using apps, in which case you don't need any paper. So in here, I'm just going to go to reports. Events, recording forms. In here, it's looked at today's, or the most appropriate date. So it found that there's actually a program built out for today. And so it's got all the relevant events ready for me. If I want to choose a different one, as in the one next week or this Saturday, then all these events change according to whatever was in that program. If I wanted to just do my sprints or just my jumps, then I can do that. Or distance, or a combination of both. It's up to you how you want to play that. So I'll just leave it as all. If I only want to do some events, then just by using the control key on my keyboard, I can select the ones that I actually want to print for, or just leave it as all. And same for my age groups. I can just select some of these, or just 1 or 2. I'll leave it as all. Male, gender. If you're running age grouping, then you can also set up some age groups. So classic is you've got your seniors where you only want under 15, 14, 15, 17, something like that happening. So you could set up an age grouping and call on seniors or old kids or whatever. And so that just means whenever I select that, that's the group of kids that we're going to bring together. Instead of having them split out on individual recording sheets, they'll all be on the one sheet together. So that's age grouping. Start of the season, you may want to add a bunch of blank lanes because you need lanes for all the randoms that are turning up on the night that haven't registered yet. And then you've got an option here. That's your extended recording sheet. If you want to have more than just your 3 throws or jumps, you want 6, then you'd use this one for your finals scenario. Otherwise, regular is, well, I'll show you what it is instead of talking about it. So I'll just go and hit preview now. It's going to build out a recording sheet for me. And then I'm going to come back here. I'm also going to do a condense one. So condense one, instead of one age gender per event, it's going to be one sheet per age gender with all their events. So I'll do one of those too. So here's my normal recording sheet with my extra blank lines. The name of the group, under 6 female high jump. The heat name is, it's called Test Night, is the program. Here's their PBs. Here's some attempts on the sheet. This isn't the standard high jump sheet. This is just a default simple one. Here's some hundreds. If I go Control P for print, it will split this out for me into 1A4 per group and so on. Versus if I go and do my condensed one, I've now got all the events and all my athletes on one bit of paper, instead of 1A4 per age gender event combination. So it just depends on how your center needs to operate. Make sense?
Yep.
If I wanted to do a nice high jump sheet, then I'd go do the preview high jump. And this now gives him my 10 attempts, sorry, my 10 heights and my 3 attempts per height. And that then goes down to all my different age gender groups here. Has the record on the sheet and who it was and when it was and so on. The PB on the sheet, and off you go from there. So that's recording sheets. Any questions on that? No.
No.
So the normal step after that is obviously you've got these bits of paper with some lovely legible handwriting on there that you then want to go and key that data in. So as mentioned, you could use CompetitionHQ that we looked at earlier, or we could just jump straight into the web where competition uploads to. And in here, this is where I get to key in from paper into the web. So here's my default screen is the events that do not have any athletes left to key against. Any events. If I go with results, I can see all these events that have just appeared. They've all got 1 of 4, 3 of 28 and so on. So 1 of 1 meaning that event's totally full, versus 3 of 28 means only 3 out of my potential 28 athletes have results. So that's a bit of a flag for me, and the 1 of 28 and 1 of 31 is also a flag saying, hang on, we've had really low attendance that night, or we're missing some data entry. I better go jump in and have a look at that. But the default when you come into the screen, if I reload this, is to only show you the events that have not been keyed against. So at the end of the day or end of the night, that should be empty, should be blank, because everyone in theory should have something against them. So I'm just going to click on one of my events. I'll go into the 800s for the 6 male. Here's my guys. I'll click on enter edit results. I can now go about keying in 1.23.56. I don't have to use colons and so on. You'll notice this DNS when I press tab will change to OK. If this athlete here needed to be, I could make them a disqualified. And then this athlete here, I'm just going to put in a 1.22.12. Now press save. It's saying, oh, there's a potential new record here. I'll go accept results but discard record. So I don't want to update my records. That's for somebody else to do. And now it's just told me first and second. Here's my athletes. Here's their results. No PBs for these guys at this point. But that's how I'd go and enter results. And I just come back. That event has now disappeared off the screen because it's in my with results view.
So just on, if you did key in an entry incorrectly,
yep,
do you just go back to that edit enter
that's it
button?
So if I come back and I forgot which one it was, I think it was maybe this 800 here. There's my guys, enter edit, tweak it. That should have been 32 instead of 22. 1, 2. I won't accept records again. I'll show you how that happens after. Once there's, so this is the first time these guys have done this event is what it's telling me, because this is their new season best and there's no PBs for these guys. Once there's an average, as in one or more results against an athlete for an event, it starts to track that as an average and will then flag if there's an anomaly. So if I went to key in another 800 meter for a Vashna test that was 25% greater or smaller than this 134, it would flag it and go, hang on, Avesh, his normal result is around a 134, but you've put in a 154 or a 114. If that's greater or less than 25% of his average, it will flag it for me. Just say, you sure that's right? That doesn't seem quite right. As well as flag if there's a potential record happening there. Does that make sense?
And where do the potential records sit?
Good question.
Once they've said no, because then it's up to somebody else to approve.
So in here, there's this blue button, potential records. So we've gone into the 9th of August and all the potential records relating to the 9th are sitting under this blue button. In here, there's a bunch of obviously junk dummy data that's around the place. So here we've got a few female 800 meter races. So if I wanted to make this fast one, the 8.7 for an 800 meter, if I wanted to make that a record, because it's the fastest of my 3, if I go make record, then the rest of those 800 females will disappear because they were slower.
Oh, good.
And now we've got a new record that has just been created. And if I go into my reports, center record list, if I accidentally clicked on the wrong one and made a mess of it somehow, and I wanted to go and fix that up, then this is where I'd go to go and amend. So I'd basically remove my bogus one that I accepted in, and then change the one that was made historical. I'd make that current again. So here we go.
Just on records, if you've rolled over a season and archived it, so I just did that for last year's details.
Yep.
Is there an opportunity to go back and change that if someone picked up an error?
Your records don't get archived.
Like from last year's. Oh, okay, so it's just the events from...
Correct. Your members get suspended, your results get archived. You can export them and do things, but your records are a constant that keep happening season on season.
Okay, so if there were any errors, they can still get adjusted.
Correct. So in this case here, I just made this one, that 8.7, the new record.
Yep.
If I wanted to, I could change that or edit it altogether. So maybe it was supposed to be some other result, so I'll make it 8.9. If I didn't want it to be my current record, I could make it historical instead of current. It's the only 2 states that it has available. And if I also wanted to, I could make it some other record instead of home.
So those other 3 that disappeared, if the one that you've said was a record, the 8.9,
yep,
it wasn't correct. It should have been 9.9. There were others faster.
Yep.
Will that bring those other ones back?
If I go and if I delete this one now because it was the bogus one.
Yeah, because you've selected, and you selected the wrong one and the others disappeared.
So we'll go delete this. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. If you ever see one of these and it says delete or 0 or whatever in capitals, make sure you're doing capitals too. So that's now gone. If we go back to home and back to the 9th when it loads up, and go to potential record, this will be a good test. There they are, they're all back again. So now we're going to choose my 9.3 and make that the record.
Yep, that's good.
So that's how you manage your potential records. So far we've talked about IMG imports, getting your members in there, going to your season calendar either via this button or event calendar and adding in a date and then recreating a program or copying one, however you want to do it. Doing your recording forms, by that button or this one here, keying your data in, how to manage any kind of fixes, edits, tweaks, records, whatever. So that's basically your weekly cycle done there. And you've got the options to use those other two applications if you want to get data in by that instead of keying in here. And you can also come into this demo center and just mess around and do things in here. Any questions?
With the events, and I saw it on yours as well, it says you're currently in season 16-17.
Yep.
Ensure that you've done a rollover. Well, obviously this is our first year using this, so do we still go to that rollover process?
Yeah, so if it's waiting for us to upload data for you, then that's why it hasn't rolled over. But once you're happy or we couldn't upload data or whatever it was, then you'd want to definitely do this process before you go about getting ready for the new season, as in bringing your members in, creating a calendar, because otherwise all that will get archived and suspended and you'll have to do it again.
And for the meet calendar,
Yep.
so that's where we'd have to put in line by line, or?
Yeah, so normally, some people feel the urgency to go and put in all their dates for all the season. And you can do that. So what we'd normally recommend is put in your information, so week 1, program A, whatever the date is, and just make it a blank meet. So you've just got a placeholder for the date. Because the challenge is, depends on how your centre rolls, but let's say it was washed out or it was too hot and you couldn't perform that week. Most centres then want to kind of bump that week on again and move it to the next week, in which case all that setup that you've done all has to be kind of deleted and reapplied 1 week ahead. Versus if you just created a blank meet, then week by week you make a call on what program you're actually going to put in that week without then having to rework it. But so there's a bit of noise from someone's end there. I'm not sure who that is. Does that make sense? Otherwise, some centres don't worry about putting all their meet dates in. They just build it that week. So it's Thursday night. You guys operate on Friday evening. So then they go about setting it up based on the weather report and what looks like it's going to happen. Or they don't bother because it's going to be washed out and they'll just wait until next Thursday and then set it up Thursday night.
So could you have like 4 blank meets set up that you rotate through?
You could have 4 meet dates that are empty, and then when you get to that date, go and select your program that you want to apply or your template, or copy an existing meet and put that into it.
Yeah, so you can do that.
Yeah.
Once you've used one, if you want to use it again in 4 weeks, so you don't have to redo it all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or just make that a template. If you're really happy with that and you don't need to tweak it, then go and make it a template.
Oh, okay. And so that's under the same thing?
Yeah, so if I'm in here
Calendar.
now, so this is tonight, I'm then just going to go view, show advanced. I'm going to make this combination here a template. So I'm going to give it a name, test template, submit. I've now made this a template. So then if I wanted to use that template.
So we could call it round 1 template, yeah.
That's it. And then next time you're building out a program, if you click on the use template, it will now be in this list of template names.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool.
If this is like a special competition internally within our club, how would we invite families if they were nominating events from building this program
Good question.
out for that particular date?
So go to event calendar and you'll be back in this screen where you'd normally go and build out a new one. Once you're here, you'll notice there's a few icons. We've been bouncing in and out of this view, which just lets us go in and tweak the actual combination of age gender events. Versus if we come across to the little envelope called invite, if I click on this, I can now invite my family members by making this yes, have a cutoff date of whatever, at whatever time of day that I need it to cut off without me having to remember and come in here and do that. And if I go save, then it means anyone within my family group will be able to nominate into this event from their family area. If I needed to
Excellent.
have a fee associated to that, we can set up fees if it's one of those sort of events. If we need to set up some caps, I've given you the option of 8 events, but you're only allowed to select 4. Then I'd make that 4 for that particular age gender. If we needed to have caps, we only want a maximum of X people in each of these events, and I can do that too. If there's a minimum performance, only the best kids are allowed to nominate, then I can put that stuff in too. And then here's an email that we can send out to everyone to tell them what's going on and how's it going to operate.
So could you use this setup for your actual carnivals?
Yeah, absolutely.
So does this work separately or alongside the Meet Manager program?
So in other states, we are Meet Manager, but in New South Wales, Meet Manager is Meet Manager. But what we can do and what they'll be looking to do is this process here. So you create, or somebody in your zone or region creates a calendar and an event, and this profile, and instead of it being your center name will be region X or zone X. They will then invite all the centers within their regional zone. Those families.
But what about just not?
Yep. So then those.
Sorry, not a whole.
Yep. Keep going.
Zone or regional carnival, but like just if we wanted to have a local club carnival.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you do your heats to finals progression, set up lane draws and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it can all be done through this.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay.
But just on that point, some regions are using this for everyone to nominate. Once they've all nominated, they're still going to run the Meet Manager for the zone or region carnival, but then would export out who's doing what. So then they can pull that into Meet Manager to save all the paper and Excel and so on to make that happen.
Okay, yep.
That's just a side note.
Yeah.
Where would we see our invitation for like zone, for example, from a club?
Okay, so in a club environment, come back to here. See this little envelope next to your plus button? This tells you if you've been invited to anything. So these are all outdated that are in here. But in theory, there'd be a new number or another number, and I'll click on this, and it'd say, you have been invited to Zone X, and the date is blah, and it's Region X's cross country or meet multi-day or whatever it happens to be called.
So that's that's for our centre. But does that go? Do we then need to change that invite out to our families?
No. So
or does it automatically go to the families as well?
The families are automatically notified in their family area. If we jump into a family area.
Yeah. And how do people get a notification of that?
Yep. So there's 2 steps to that. One is when we log in, there's a banner at the top, notifications. There'll be a number up here, and here will say you've been invited to whatever it is. The other step is when you send out an invite, or the regional zone does, out to your center, and they've sent out an email, you're the gatekeeper to that email actually hitting your members. So in here, it'll say, do you allow this email to go out to all your members? And if you say yes, then it forwards that email on and lets it continue on to your members. We used to not have that stopgap, which meant one club, when they first found out about it, invited every centre that they could get their hands on. They all got spammed by this one centre playing around. And I was like, whoops, right, we created a monster. We better kind of put a cage on that. So now you get the option to allow that message to go onto your members. The members will always be able to see something in their notifications, but they just won't get spammed in the email land until you accept it.
And how will the administrator know of that notification?
Again, when you log in, next time if you see something on your...
So you have to be logged in, like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so you have to log in to see it.
That's it.
Otherwise, it won't be just an email notification to say, guess what, you've got thing.
Correct.
it.
So you'll keep an eye on this, and you'll be aware in theory that it's coming up because everyone's talking about this particular event, so you know to look out for it. And then when it hits your inbox, then you're good to go.
And when the families nominate back for their events for Zone, we can audit that before we submit that?
Correct. So the way it normally works is, if I jump back to where I was, and I go into that invite screen that I was in, what they normally do is have it set up so that, yes, the families can nominate, but also the centres. But you'd cut the families off, say, 2 weeks prior to the event. I'm just making numbers up. Allowing the centre 2 weeks to fiddle and tweak whatever the nominations are that the families have put in. And then at 5 days before the event, whoever it is that's invited you all along, they shut off you even being able to edit and tweak things, and then they go about setting up for their lane draws and whatever else they got to do. So that's normally a 2-step process.
Great, thanks.
And when the families will get invited to Zone, like there might be a younger age group that doesn't do high jump, for example.
Correct.
Will they not make sure they're not able to select that as an event?
Yeah, so whatever the age gender events are
Zone to send out?
that they've set up as their program for that event, they're the only events available to those athletes.
So that event must be set up prior.
Correct.
To make sure it's all correct. Yep. All right.
And then if you had performance layers built into it for whatever reason, then even though I'm an under 13 female, if my time wasn't quick enough, then I won't see an invite to the 100. So I may see one to the jumping because I'm a good jumper, but I'm just not a good 100-meter runner. Then it's even got that layering if you needed to do that.
Ah.
How's it going? So we've just hit an hour 10 on our timeline tonight. Is that enough information for you guys tonight, or are there more questions?
I have one question, please.
Yep.
Communication section, so we can email parents and families, but I notice there's also the option of SMSs, and I'd really like to get that for wet weather, last minute wet weather calls and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
How do we subscribe to that, and where do we buy the credits for SMS, and how do we set it up?
Okay, good question. So first step would be click on this green question mark, which is the help topic relative to it. But basically what this is going to talk you through is there's a company called 5 Cent SMS. That's their actual web name, like their company name. You'll set up an account to that 5 Cent SMS. When you set up that account, you'll need to put an email in as a part of your setup process. Make sure that's the same email that you've got set up in the system here, which also says 5 Cent SMS service email. So whatever this email is what you'll set your 5 Cent SMS account up with. We don't manage any finances to do with that.
Yep.
You'll go and add credit to that profile you've set up over yonder. But whenever you're in your communicate and you have that account set up with enough funds in it, and then you choose SMS, then whatever you put in here will then appear ting in the SMS and take X number of credits out of your piggy bank and get that message out to your members.
Yeah, it's a great feature.
Cool.
The only other questions I had, Nick, was around reporting.
Okay.
How to find athletes' season best performances, and then the email sent you about multi and non-multi scoring.
Okay. So in here we've got Report Builder. This is where you'd come to get pretty well most of your data except points. So if it's just purely results related or attendance or PB related things, they normally come in here to Report Builder. once you're in here, you've got options. So if I didn't want to look at results, I just wanted to look at season bests, then I'd tick this. If it was just for a particular day or whatever, otherwise I'll just go submit. I might just make it a bit smaller. So I'll choose these. I'll choose all my athletes because there's hardly any data in this thing because it's just full of junk, and I'll go submit. If any of these athletes have a season best, then here we go. It's starting to put that out for me. And that's by age, gender. I may just want to look at a particular event type. So just want to look at hundreds, or 100 hurdles, or a combination of. Then that's where I can go about looking at that sort of information.
And the families have this same functionality when they go into their family profile to be able to look at
Yep, and even more.
all of that? Yeah.
So here I've just jumped into my business partner's family profile. He's got kids that do little A's, so it's quite handy. So I'm just going to click on Erin. She did 2Ks. She does cross country over in WA. So we'll see how her 2Ks have gone. So it looks like she's only done it twice and it's gotten faster. Versus if I go to 100 meters, she then gets to see all the relevant dates that she's had a PB. So they use us for Meet Manager over there. So this was at her zones that she did this one, which is cool. She got a PB at the zones. That's good to see. I can go have a look at 400s. So down the side here are all my events, my current season best, and the number of PBs that I've got. It also has any historical results that may be in the system. So now it's my 15-16 season best and the number of PBs and so on. So they've got all that information at their fingertips waiting for them. Also, achievement books. I can go and print off a high-res PDF achievement book of any of my kids at any point in time. So I'm just going to choose one for Erin. Can take a little bit to load because it's got to build out all the tickets and pages and sponsors logos and all that jazz. But once it loads, and on that point, I can also put my own picture of myself on my front cover of my achievement book. So she's gone and put a pretty funny photo up there of herself by the looks of that. I must have black and white put on. Let's go to PDF instead of black and white. Here we go. Now we've got some color happening. So this is achievement book for Erin for 16-17 season. Put her own picture in there. Here's runnings from Melissa Bren. What's her favorite tips and blah, blah, blah. Here's all my tickets relevant to the 400 meters. Moving along. Here's standing start for Ryan Gregson. Here's all my 200 meter times and tickets and so on. So they've got all of this at their fingertips whenever they want to go in and print it off or send one off to grandma or whatever. Then that's right there ready for them to go. So that's what you get in your, you can also jump in and see the records for your center. So click on the different age, gender and events and see who holds the record for a particular event type and so on. If you've got the option turned on to see all results, then I can go along here and I can have a look at a particular event day or night and see who did the 400 meters. So on this particular night, first place was Karma, positions first down to 38 in this particular age group, who got a PB with the stars and so on. Does that answer that question?
That's good.
So that's what...
Because we used to have that functionality through the website, so I just wanted to make sure they could still have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And could you just explain the allocating of points?
Yeah, good
could
one.
you go over that as well?
So if we go to report, no, sorry, event, calculate.
Mm-hmm.
In here, any given week of the season, you can turn on one or multiple of these point types. So as long as you have this particular point type set up with some structure against it, as in PB points. First place gets one. Sorry, if I better my PB, I get 2 points, and if I equal my PB, I get 1. If I've got this ticked on and I get a PB, well then I get 2 points. Versus attendance, if I turn up for the night, I get 1, and for every event I participate in, I get 1. So if I do 5 events, I'll then get 6 points, and so on. So come in here, tick on everything you need to tick on for your different combinations. If it's just a multi-meet weekend, and I just want to use the IAAF multi-points for New South Wales, and then I just tick that one on only.
Use that for carnivals as well.
Cool. So you could leave that on.
What does the band's ticked? What's band?
Banding, so it's where you've got, so 6 male 100 meters. We've got 5 optional point structures in there. I'm just making all this up. It could be 1, 2, or 8, or 20 points bandings. So between performance A and B, I get points 1. Between performance, that sort of stuff. And setting up all your points, if you come up here to set up and points, here's all those points that you've got the tick box for. So if I wanted to set up my PB points, then so far it's saying an equal PB is 3 and a better PB is 6. And it's saying the first result for the season, will that exclude it from being a PB? Currently it's saying yes. So that means everyone won't get a PB for their first event. They'll have to better their first time at that event to be able to get a PB. Some people want to use equal PBs, some people don't. And some people want to use last season's PBs, some people don't. So that's where you go and set all that up. So once you've gone and built out your point structure and you've ticked all your relevant boxes, I can calculate a particular meet date one by one, or I can come up here and just tell it to go and mow through all my season and update all my points for me, and it'll send me an email when that's done. Because that can be quite a lengthy thing, it could take 40 minutes or an hour, just depending on how big your centre is.
And the IAAF, that includes non-multi points, like triple jump, for example?
Let's have a look. So points, multi-points, and Control F for find for Freddie. So triple, so here's some triples in here. So it's got 13 up to 16 for triple by the looks of it. So you can export that and add things to it, or tweak it, or edit it line by line. It's we put the template in, and then it's up to you guys what you want to do with that moving forward.
Okay, thanks.
And then the last step is normally you've got all these points in there. You want to do the leaderboard, which means you want to sum up basically all those different points, but you may want to filter it for particular reasons. So maybe you've got a trophy that only uses place or PB and attendance. One particular trophy just covers those points off only. And then if I go view, if there's any points in my calendar, here we go. So here's my first to worst points holders across the whole club. Because up here I did club points versus if I wanted to do club age gender or just age gender and rerun this. Then I'll split it out. So 6 females, first, second, third, 6 males. Well, they're all first, they're all got 4 points. Gives you some percentages here of percent of meets and events and how many events they've actually been a part of. If you need to put a minimum attendance, you can only be eligible if you've done 60% of the meet or a number of events. Also have to have done 50% of all events available. Can't just come and cherry pick your favorite ones, whatever it needs to be. So you've got all these variables here. It's up to you how you want to play it. Maybe it's only a particular week of the year that you include, or a couple of weeks of the year where it's all relevant. It's up to you how you decipher that. And whatever's in here, you can export it to. And then one of the last things you probably want to do is print off a little report card for the kids. So if we come in here, we'll find our members. Oh, doesn't like something in the database by the looks of that. No, there's some junk in here that someone's put in that it doesn't like. So I'll try and select some members and see if that's any better. No. It's one challenge with having a sandpit. You can't always control what's going on in there. Pretty sure I need to select members, yeah. So if I jump out of here, and I'll just jump into a center that I know that's got some data in there. They've still got their results, yep. So I'm just going to come in here to center best. No, it's something platform wide. I need to get that sorted out. So basically that would let you do a little report card with the kids' age, gender, event, the number of times they've done that event. There should be a little help topic describing this with a little example. So once I've done this up down here, all the different options, then it gives them this sort of report card here. So they'll have your club's name and the season, their name, their age, gender, and so on. The name of the events, their season best, how many PBs. So if they did 5 PBs, then there'd be 5 stars next to that line. The number of times they've done that event and their average. So it lets you print that out. It also lets you push a soft copy of that. So I could publish this to their center area. So when they're logged in next time, they would see a little PDF they could download from within their family area instead of printing off a tree to go and do your certificates.
So we could push that out to all families at the end of the season.
That's right. As well as a reminder, go and do your achievement book in case they weren't aware of that.
Yeah.
And hopefully then they've got some cool stuff to show their friends and come back next year. How's that, guys? Is that enough for tonight, or are there more questions?
No, that's good. Thank you.
I'm good, thanks.
Great.
Yep, all good. I'm sure I'll have some other questions after our data's been put in.
No worries.
Us too.
Cool.
Excellent, thank you.
No worries. So I'll put this up on YouTube. So just jump up into our Timing Solutions YouTube area and you'll be able to see it up there and forward that on to anyone else in your committee if you need to.
Yep, will do.
Thanks, guys.
Excellent.
Have a good
Thanks
evening.
very much.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks.
Night.
All right.